Well, thanks for having us. I'm Ira Wallace at Southern Exposure Seed Exchange and also a godmother to Ujama Seeds. And I've spent most of my farming and gardening life in various cooperative situations. And so I'll share a little bit about that. And Amirah is that younger generation coming up who's starting a farm and has worked with True Love Seed as an apprentice and is on an incubator farm and is looking for a farm. I thought maybe we would hear about this new fresh thing and then have some of the things that have been good and some of the things that have been more challenging with cooperating over the years, and then go back to questions that have come up and things that popped up as we were talking. Because we want to encourage and honor those who are going to take this over. Being 75, I'm looking forward to it. So, Amirah, how do you feel about that?
Sure. Hi everyone. My name is Amirah. I am the owner operator of Sista Seeds, which is my very small seed company. Um, and I started Sista Seeds 2023. So we're very much a baby operation, still figuring things out, still relying a lot on our mentors and figuring out how to do this work well. But I am just gonna kind of tell you about what that process has been like for me and some of the challenges along the way. So I've been farming for a while. I started farming in 2007, but I didn't start working in seed production until 2018 when I started apprenticing at True Love Seeds. And that was a really great opportunity. It was really valuable to where I am now to have that opportunity to work with a small but growing seed company as I was thinking about, going into this industry. Um, and Around the same time, I decided to go back to school to study horticulture and work on, starting a business plan and figuring things out. And then I eventually launched Sista Seeds after a successful GoFundMe process in November of 22, and then started growing at an incubator lit property that following season. So I can go more in depth about what that process and challenges are if you like, Ira.
I think that would be good because uh, people at least often want to know how it was in the beginning. And sometimes I don't even remember the beginning. Uh, and you're so close to it and you've done so well.
Thank you. Okay. So when I first started learning seed work, I knew that I, had a real passion for saving seeds from the African diaspora. That's the focus of the work that I do. Um, but I didn't really have a great idea of how to make it into something that could sustain me financially. So when I decided to start Sister Seeds, I had my little business plan all written out, but I didn't have a good idea about how I was going to fund it. I had a savings account of maybe $500 in it, because I've been working on farms for the past over a decade and did not have a lot of money saved up. So I didn't have any capital. I also didn't have any land of my own. I had some community garden space, but you're not really able to isolate seeds in a community garden, certainly not produce at the level that I was aspiring to. So that was one of the first challenges that I encountered. I eventually found land at an incubator. I'm in Pennsylvania. And there's an incubator here called the Seed Farm, coincidentally. And they lease land to new farmers who are starting their own businesses. It's around a maximum of a 5-year lease, so it's hopefully it's enough time for people to get started and have their businesses running smoothly before they graduate out of the program and move on. Um, and so that was, some of that land situation figured out. But that land was about an hour and a half from where I was currently living, and I wasn't able to make that commute. So my partner and I um, had to actually move out of Philadelphia and also find a house that we could live in that was closer to the farm so we didn't have such a long commute to go to and from the farm. We also needed a lot of startup capital to solve this issue. I didn't really go in with a huge strategy of how to raise money, but I started a GoFundMe, and it was really successful. And I really can't claim much credit for the success of my fundraising. It was mostly friends and family that helped me push it out and publicize it. Owen Taylor of True Love Seeds was able to use his very large following to help me push that forward and raise a lot of money. And then I had the opportunity also to get some local publicity that drew attention to the GoFundMe. So my goal with the GoFundMe was to raise around $10,000 to support the infrastructure development and equipment needs of the farm. But I also wanted to raise enough money to support myself for a year because I knew that no matter how I decided to, sell the seeds that I was growing, it would take a full year in order to turn any income from the farm. Because seeds is all that I do. It's what I specialize in. So I knew that I would have to be farming for a full year before those seeds would be able to bring any income into my household. So I wanted to raise additional money to support myself for a full year of farming, so I wouldn't have to take on off-farm jobs, which I didn't feel at the time that I could realistically handle in my first year of having my own farm business because I wasn't going into this with any employees, just a very supportive partner. Um, but I was able to raise 30K from that GoFundMe, which was just enough to kind of meet some of our bare minimum household needs as well as kickstart the farm for that first year. And when we started Sister Seeds, I knew that I had to sell seeds somehow to support the mission. But the ultimate mission of Sister Seeds is around um, um, access and sharing of African American, Afro-Caribbean, and West African heritage crops. It's about regenerating those culturally important varieties, sharing them, empowering and educating other Black seed stewards. But we knew we had to fund this work somehow through seed sales. And at first, I was really on the fence about whether I wanted to start a seed company or if I wanted to just be a grower, just be a farmer and work with other seed companies. So that was kind of the first decision I had to make with regards to the business. And the reason I decided ultimately to um, start a seed company and open up a website where I could retail seed packets is because I figured out that I couldn't support my farm on just wholesale seed sales. I tested that theory. I reached out to a couple of larger seed companies, including True Love Seeds and Ujama Farm, which are both smaller seed companies, but I reached out to be a grower for both of them as well, to just test to see if I could bring in income from multiple different sources and test the model to see what was working best. You know, both True Love and Ujama Seeds have really unique grower compensation models where they give growers a percentage of the profit of the seed sale as opposed to paying upfront per pound or per ounce for the seeds. So I worked with them, and I also worked with other seed companies that would pay upfront. So I figured this would give me a little bit of income at the very end of the growing season when I sent in, my pound of tomatoes or whatever. And a little bit coming in from these smaller seed companies that were paying me with sales percentages. And then I also started a retail seed company, but I wasn't sure if I would be able to make any money selling seeds online, especially in my first year because no one knew who I was. But I felt that it was better to at least attempt to sell some seeds retail where I could get better margins and hopefully make some more money. Um, so that approach of trying out a couple of different ways in my first year really paid off because I was able to get enough local publicity for Sista Seeds and had enough, friends and family who helped me publicize that and market that I was able to make quite a bit of money in my first year off of retail sales. So my first year, I think I made or the sales from my first year came to about 15,000, which is not a ton of money, not enough to support me, but it was enough to be encouraging. And it was more than I was making through some of the other sales channels. Um, following that, I decided to really lean more into the retail component and to do um, more with seeds through my website. But I'm also looking into other ways of making money because I'm still figuring out how this business can be sustainable for myself and the family. So we're looking into what added value looks like if in seed production, if that means doing some you know, uh, making added value products with our hot peppers after we've processed them for seed. Looking at doing more seed starting and nursery production earlier in the year to sell plants. And then, of course, also looking to do a lot more education on farm workshops, which aligns well with our mission. So that's some of the challenges that we are still figuring out. And then there's also the land issue is reoccurring because we're going into our third year at the incubator, and at some point we're going to have to move out. And so we've already begun that process of looking for land. Um, it's not easy being at an incubator as a seed grower. There are, you know, I think 6 other farmers, vegetable farmers, herb farmers, flower farmers, and it can make isolation distance very challenging. My farm is about an acre and a half. We're working with about an acre and a half, and the total property that we're working on is I think something around 30, 40 acres, but we're very close to our neighbors. So it requires a lot of coordination, a lot of infrastructure to get our isolation distances. And that's a challenge at an incubator. The incubator also didn't start off with a lot of the equipment that we needed as a seed production farm. It was originally set up for vegetable farmers. So they have a wash and pack station, and they have a lot of the equipment needed by a vegetable farmer, but they had almost nothing that we needed as seed production farmers, even though we pay the same rental rates for the space. We had to set up our own drying area. Um, and that was made possible through a grant that we received to build a new drying area after the shed failed. Um, we didn't have a lot of that infrastructure. We didn't have a lot of equipment that makes seed farming possible, especially when you're not working with a labor force. So there's a lot of challenges with the incubator, and then we have to continue to seek land now. So that's kind of where the farm is right now. Still figuring things out, but it's so far been successful by my standards. Um, but there's a lot of next steps. I don't think we would have been as successful if I hadn't had some experience with seeing what a small seed company looks like as it's still in its early growth stages, as I did when I was working at True Love. So I'm really grateful to that experience. Um, okay, yeah, that's what I had for my first 3-year challenges.
Oh, thank you. And I was thinking we would save the questions for the end, so it could be just an open-ended conversation. And I could tell you a little bit about some of the experiences which really lean hard into how do you finance and find land and do things, as a seed company, and how do you get experience, as Amirah said. It's not everywhere that you can go and be in a seed company that is doing the full range of things and needs and is in the position to, have interns do all those things. So I would say, I started out wanting to live in an alternative community and looking mostly for an alternative way to live a good and ecological life, grow our own food, sell a little bit, and so forth. And this was back in the early 70s in North Carolina. At Chapel Hill, we lived in a little town called Cedar Grove. And it really was a time when getting together with people on buying land really made a difference. Like, we bought 200 acres, and this is truth. We had been looking at a 20-acre plot, and it was only about 30% less than the 200-acre plot at that time. And we were very lucky in that one of our members was a military veteran and had never used VA funding, and there were 2 houses on the farm, so he could say he was going to live in one of the houses. And we put our little money together and bought this land. And while I was there, I stumbled into seeds. The North Carolina Botanical Gardens were doing a lot of plant rescue, and I had the opportunity to be a part of that and a part of setting up habitat gardens to propagate seeds in a garden setting from all of these native plants that were being saved from a big lake being built for a reservoir there. But honestly, it never occurred to me we'd make money doing this. I thought of this as the good work that we would do in some nonprofit way throughout life. And it still hasn't been. I mean, vegetables and flowers and only a few native plants do we grow actually and try to sell. But the thing that was interesting is we had to really talk with an extension agent who had given, we were talking to him about how we could fund our land. And he was the one who told us about that as a group we could form an LLC and take advantage of VA benefits. And that really was something that I've used and helped other people starting co-op farms use, if that's a part of their background. But even if you're not a veteran, sometimes putting your job experience and your current income, even though you might be planning on quitting that job as soon as you buy the land, together. So that was one thing. And that farm was a great place to learn a lot of things, but it wasn't quite the right fit. And we ended up selling that farm to some other farmers and setting it up so that you're in a position where if you decide to leave, there's a way to turn over in such a way that the land can remain farmland and not be developed, is another part of living the good life. And in this case, we tried to get more Black farmers interested, but they were afraid that if they bought this land that was undivided, to deal with it, and then we ended up having to take 2 years sort of to get permissions to subdivide it, to sell it to the farmers. And I guess what I'm saying is getting land is expensive. Getting land to be cheaper can be expensive in time if it's not as expensive in money. And finding allies who are doing that work for more than one farmer is a good way to look at resources that are available. Like, we got approved for the credit ahead of time, finding out about that, and looking at a couple of different lending options so you can see how much of a down payment you have to have, and having a lawyer you trust, because if you don't make good choices about how you have the ownership, if someone should pass away or try to move, how is that gonna affect the ownership? So that was very important. But another thing for us was actually living together on the farm. We, probably cut our expenses in half, and that gave us money to do things, on the farm, and buy a tractor and pay for stuff. So that was really important in those early days. And we didn't take advantage of this or find it a part that we wanted to use, but these projects like the Black Land Loss project, or something that offers legal help to people who are involved in heirs property, or in other property that is tied up in a generational way, that's really important. And I guess underlying this is, we had the advantage of education of a certain sort that helped us take advantage of these things that we didn't know much about, but we did know how to research things. And we're used to research projects that drug on for a long time. So that was something. The cautions are, because I've been on the board of a number of intentional community groups, is groups that when you don't make provisions for what you're going to do if things go wrong and you want to get out of it, can be really hard on people. And having nobody put more money into this than they can afford to lose if things go wrong is really important. Another one is, you don't have to buy all your land at once. We, have people who buy like 5 acres and help each other do that in an area where either adjacent or very near there's other land available, and then helping the next farmer to do this. This has happened mostly in my experience with groups that are either family or kind of like chosen family. They worked together and gotten some serious trust, because when you don't do it all at once, everyone isn't invested in the same way necessarily at the same time. But a number of groups that I work with, usually small chosen family groups with some mission, have put some of their money together, but also built up relationships with nonprofits and so forth to help them move on in the land structure. And the third thing that is like that I've had a lot of experience with as I've moved to 4 different communities, is building up relationships with local farmers to have, you know, shared equipment for what we're doing, and to bring experts in to teach us on farm while having it be an outside available workshop so that other people in the neighborhood can learn from what we know, and what we're learning is really important. So I'm going to say, count your pennies. Don't spend more of them than you can afford to lose. Count your allies. Cultivate them, build trust. Don't trust more, don't go any further than you're willing to be trusting, because you really need that when you're starting out, is trust and support. And have a business plan if you can. It'll help you know whether or not you're meeting your goals. And you can go to people who aren't necessarily, who very traditional farmers sometimes are really good with farm plans. And you might not take their advice on organic gardening, but if they have if they have good books and are advised by other farmers as upright, they can sometimes help you with those more traditional accounting things. Because what you can do and how you need to keep your books for the best tax advantage as a farmer is a little bit different than your regular taxes. So yeah, those are a few cautions, and I'd love to answer questions about the particulars of these things that you all are interested in.
Right. Thank you all so much. We'll start by taking the questions from folks who are joining virtually, if there are any in the chat there.
So far, there are none in the chat, but folks feel free to post them.
I would like to make a comment. Amirah, you may want to contact Bridget Penna. Bridget Penna started San Diego Seed Company in about 2017. She came to our California Organic Seed Summit a couple of times, and she is a young person, as you are, extremely active on social media, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, you name it. She dominates that field, and she is actually selling seeds, organic seeds, of about 50 different varieties from San Diego to Tampa, Florida. And she specializes in adaptation to zones 8 and 9. Extremely active. She doesn't own any land, by the way. She does depend upon seed production by other farmers, and many of our California Seed Summit participants, like Quail Seeds and Redwood Seeds, have been mentoring her. And she would love to chat with you. She organizes weekend classes for urban gardeners, and she spends the whole day. And people would love to pay $50, $60 a day to just come and learn biodynamic agriculture, all the way to growing plants of different kinds. And she started out with actually zero sales in 2016. She hit $1 million last year, and she was able to pay herself about $75,000 last year. There are success stories of things being done, but there is an academic approach to starting a seed company, and there is an entrepreneurial approach. I have been an entrepreneur. I founded my company in 1995 and ran it until 2012. And I know it's hard work, but if you do it like your mentor is saying, If you do it in an organized way with a business plan, you will succeed definitely, guaranteed.
Thanks,
for the
Conti. One,
connection.
yeah. One thing to clarify, actually, Bridget does have a farm in Ramona.
She rents it. She doesn't own it. She's
Right.
renting it for $4,000 a year.
Mhm. So if anyone has more questions in chat, if you want to use the little raise hand function, and Abba can moderate it.
Great. Yeah. If anybody has questions or wants to add something to the conversation, just use the raise hand function. Amirah, did you have something you were going to say in response to Conti's comment there?
Oh, just appreciation. Yeah, I consider myself a farmer first, and I've been a farmer for a lot longer than I've been a business owner. So I'm definitely still learning some of the ropes. Grateful for the advice. Thank you.
We've got a question from Elizabeth coming up. Thanks for flagging us.
Amirah, what area of outside of Philadelphia are you in?
I'm in Lehigh Valley.
Oh, I'll be there next month or in April. Can I come visit?
You may.
Okay, I will find contact.
All right. We're gonna have some questions in the room here. If you go ahead when you speak, if you want to introduce yourselves, and Jasmine's gonna.
Hey, good morning. This is Soren from Strong Roots and Open Circle Seeds. And I just want to thank you both. Ira, I'm a longtime fan of everything you do. And Amirah, you may consider yourself a baby in this, but I so respect and admire what you've done in such a short time. And so that's just my baseline. But I want to thank you because this is a topic that we've thought and talked a lot about in the last few years, because there are several that I know of personally, farms that are aging out. You know, the farmers are like looking for somebody to pass their land on to, and the infrastructure. And I guess I should preface that to say there's not a lot of farms out here of the size and scale that we all work, but there are a few. And it's like the struggle to find somebody to pass a farm onto, which seems kind of insane to have, not have people want to take that on in this day and age, but it's really hard to find people who are serious and committed to this. So this is something I've thought about calling and talking to you about. But and then if you connect with somebody, they're on the East Coast and they don't want to move to California. And I mean, I understand the challenges with that, but we're struggling to looking forward to, what do we do with our farm? And so this is great information, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you. We appreciate what you do in the seed world as well.
Thanks. Okay, Lauren, I'll hand it to you.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Hello, Miss Wallace. Hello, Amirah Mitchell. It's an honor to be here with you and listen to what you have to say. I appreciate all your wisdom and your sharing. And since my daughter and I co-founded the Napa County Seed Library, I've been following you, maybe me more than she, but she knows of you. And I really appreciate uplifting your work as I learn how to do it. I'm not a farmer, I'm a gardener. I believe in sharing the heritage that we have in seeds. And I just want to tell you a little story about the fish pepper that I got from you last year that I grew out in honor of my connection to Baltimore, Maryland, because that's where all my mother's side was born, including myself, back to 1845. And if it wasn't for you and your impact in so many different places, people telling your story rather than you having to tell your story, because you don't have to tell your story. You just be who you are, and other people will talk about you and will find you, as I did. And I'm so glad to be a part of this work with you and to continue to support you. So as we make these connections and do this hard work and share resources and ideas, I just want to say that I'm walking hand in hand with you on your journey wherever we are, and to keep doing this because I'm not going to stop. So I don't have a question. I'm just giving a lot of gratitude for your work and your continued support of us.
Thank you so much.
Indeed.
Well, I love hearing when the seeds find their way into loving hands. That's wonderful.
Aloha o U'ilani ko Inoa. I'm a Kanaka Maole, a guest here on Northern Pomo land. I want to say mahalo. Mahalo for your resilience, for doing the work you're doing. Emotional hearing my sister here share her story, but that's real. You know, it's nice to see me and you. I am the co-founder and steward a beautiful piece of land with the land. Her name is Hakako Dele. She's on Northern Pomo land in what we call today Casper, California. We are 6 acres of a very bigger farm called Fortunate Farm. And we lease 6 acres to rematriate the land and create a weaving connection of the very resilient and beautiful indigenous presence and root systems there with our wider community of like being a bridge. So I appreciate you hearing your stories, and I look forward to becoming kin and like connecting with you more. I'm so excited. And your sister seeds, oh my gosh, I'm just bling bling. I can't wait to connect. And I welcome you if you ever feel yourself journeying to Northern Pomo land in Casper, right by the ocean. Come by Hakakodele and come and sit in our medicine garden, and I welcome you. I welcome you to come, and I look forward to building relations with you. I'm like talking to the screen. You're right here. So mahalo nui, mahalo nui, mahalo nui, and I look forward to meeting you one day.
Oh, thank you. So much love. I'm really feeling it even through the Zoom. That's
I would just say something brief that I love to see how quickly one can progress when well resourced. So it's just you're an example of what can happen when a community or a person or a group is well resourced.
That's true. That's so true.
Mhm.
Any other
Right.
questions?
I wanted to say something about resourcing, that sometimes you don't have to, wait for an outside thing. A community can use like its joint information and power, like to, you know, help spread the word about something like a GoFundMe campaign, or to raise thousands of dollars. 15 years ago we had a fire, and it was before we had grown as big as a company. And the next day, friends were here helping to clean up, but also spreading the word on social media. So we, had immediate support for that situation. And it was within the people we already knew to start out with. So you can create some of the things pretty quickly yourselves in your own communities.
Thank you both. Oh, there's a question over there. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Matilda. I work at Hakakadili with Uilani on Northern Pomo land, and I wanted to ask you both on your thoughts of farming in community, and what are some of the challenges or maybe skills that we could have to kind of meet that better.
Yeah. Mama Ara, you want to take this first? You're the expert.
Well, I think that sometimes creating opportunities to ongoing teaching opportunities is a really good way to bring new skills to your community without questioning the skills that people already have in there. I mean, I like classes and learning from people, but sometimes people's experience makes them feel like when you say it'd be great to invite this person, that if you don't have it as a regular part of what you do, because everybody can learn something from someone, you don't make the space for it and think of it as a gift as opposed to an accusation. And building relationships with the neighbors so that you can learn hands-on skills from people nearby is also really important, because at any given time your community has what skills has within it, and there are things that people need, and sometimes they're not farm things. It's like to make Sister Seeds succeed, Amirah needs to farm, but she also needs to network and teach and do the things that make people know about the products of her farming.
Thank you for asking this question, because I think it's so important, because seed keeping in community is what seed keeping is all about. I really believe that. And when I first started working with seeds, when I was working at True Love, that was a really big part of what we did was working in community. That was when I was living in Philadelphia. Then to start Sister Seeds, I was looking for land, and I couldn't find land in Philadelphia. Not that we could even remotely afford, or that would be suitable for seed production. So we moved about an hour, 30 minutes away from the people that I consider my community, right? And so that has been a huge challenge of moving. And it's something that I'm hoping to fix when I move inevitably again very soon, is to move so that I can really feel like I'm a part of a community. It's very hard to feel like I'm a part of a community that I know I'm in for a very small amount of time. I'm in Lehigh Valley as in an incubation lease, and it doesn't feel like, it's not a place where I am putting down community roots, because I know I'm leaving maybe as soon as a year. But farming community is the only way to really get this work done, especially with seed work. There sometimes is like a part of me that, when I have people come onto the farm, a part of me that goes, oh, do they know what they're doing? Am I going to regret bringing someone onto my farm who knows nothing about the difference between a bed and a path? And so I definitely get some of those fears because it is such an important part of my livelihood. But then there are so many things that I can have people do, you know, when we're all sitting around a bucket filled with okra pods. That's one of my favorite things to have people do is, you know, the sun is hot. We all need a break. Let's sit in the shade and shell some okra together. It's one of the best parts of seed farming for me is being able to share those moments. But given where I am, I have to really go out of my way to get those experiences, to get people to come out and be on the land in community with me. I'm always trying to get my friends to come out to the farm, and sometimes they're able and sometimes they're not. And it's really great. One of the great things about being on the incubator is I have, you know, 5 other farmers who are on the land at some point in time, at the same time as I am, that I can pull into this work and we can share and I can tell them about seeds. I mean, would you be interested in learning how to save some of your flower seeds? And then we can share ideas and we can build community, but it's not quite the same because we all know that this isn't a permanent space. So this is a challenge that I've been working with as I seek land. It's also about seeking community and a place, you know, being part of people that we can really give back to each other in a tangible way. You know, it's one thing on social media. I'm very new to social media. And yes, it's incredible for finding people and connecting with people and for sharing resources and support. And it is a kind of community, but it's not the kind of soul nourishing in your face handing you a seed pod type of community that really sustains this work. So that is such a major piece of this that I feel like I'm missing, but I'm hoping I won't be missing for long.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I actually, I have a question. So yesterday we heard from Rachel Britton of the Mendocino Grain Project, and she took over this Mendocino Grain Project from the founder, Doug Mosel. And one of the things that she spoke about a little bit was the challenge of those transitions, and thinking about when you have someone who's founded you know, an organization, a farm, and they have a certain set of, you know, skills and passions, and those are not necessarily the same, you know, perfect overlap with the next generation, with the people that are maybe taking that over. And I guess this is a question for you, Ira, having been in these communities that I'm sure have evolved as new people have come in, you know, as new people have been involved in, you know, the seed business, for example, that, you know, some of the kind of, you know, maybe founding principles or ideas of the people that, you know, maybe started Southern Exposure, for example. How do you, what have been some of the processes for allowing, encouraging, incorporating the ideas, passions, skills of the next generation, or just of, you know, people who are coming on more recently? How do you find that balance of like having kind of something that's had an identity and a history, and how it evolves so that it feels like something that's still you know, has the, you know, common thread, while having the, you know, incorporating all of the fresh new you know, ideas of the you know, next generation, or the people who are coming on?
That's a great question. It's a struggle of the time we are now. You know, there are a lot of people who are 25 and under who are there, and the way they look at things is different, and the way that they learn things is different. I didn't grow up with being able to look at YouTube when I'm reading something and don't know what they're actually talking about, and say, well, let's see what's on YouTube, and put that together with, you know, John's book on seed saving or something. And you know, for some people that's hard. For me, I'm figuring if I came and started, you know, when I was like 23 and thought I could buy a farm and run it with people who only one of whom had ever been a farmer. Have to give them some slack. That's why I say having education as a part of what you do, so that you're always having that interface with people who are learning, is really important in building a community, at least at our city company. And when we don't, we regret it.
Yeah, thank you. Do we have any other questions? All right.
I think there was a hand in the Zoom.
Jared,
It's like Elizabeth Johnson's got a hand up. Thanks.
I do. Hi, question for Ira. You know, I follow some different organizations, and one of them is the Greenhorns and the Land Trust. I wonder if you have any experience with them that is helpful or good for Amirah. And Soulfire Farm is like a fantastic paradigm for the age. I mean, they're really doing something special there. So are those organizations, would they be helpful to Amirah?
I think so. I think she has been in touch, certainly with Soulfire,
Sure.
and associated
Yeah.
BIPOC efforts.
I know the Land Trust, I think they're out of Maine now, the organization, but I see that they are very helpful in land transfers with Black farmers in different parts of the East Coast. So they're connected with land transfer. So anyway, just thought I'd throw it out there.
Thank you.
Right. If we don't have any other questions, I'd like to thank Ira and Amirah again for really facilitating a great conversation.